Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leave on that levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. Got slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to stream number 2 of the day. We had college basketball stream with our good friend Chase Howell earlier on, and we are back, this time with some NFL action. The NFL has decided to put a couple games on Saturday this week, and we are here to talk about them.
Why would they do that, Nick?
Because there's no college football, so they know that if they put a couple games on Saturday, they can just sell more commercial slots.
I was gonna say because they like money. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, it is nothing other than money. So we've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos as the opening game starts up in about an hour and 25 minutes. And then game number 2 is the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles. That is the nightcap game, 8 o'clock Eastern or so. So glad to see some people in here. You're not getting tired of us with 2 streams in the same day. So we got Pick 6, we got Jay Ballin. Pick 6 is ready for some football. Jay Ballin says, is there any intro that hits as hard as the skirt skirt? And I think the answer is no. It is statistically impossible for anything to hit as hard as that skirt skirt in the intro. For anybody who's curious, there is a link to the song for the intro. Just do that in the chat. So Ben, let's go ahead and hop into it. We've got about an hour and 20 minutes. It gives us about 40 minutes per game. So let's start with the Chiefs and the Broncos. Broncos at home. Game at Mile High Stadium. Broncos are 11-point underdogs at home. Over-under set at 44.5. Some playoff implications in this game. Seeding implications, at least. Kansas City is still fighting for the number 1 seed in the AFC. They can secure that with a win today and a Titans loss against Houston tomorrow. I would definitely bet that Tennessee is going to win that game. So I don't know how likely it is that Kansas City actually gets the number 1 seed, even if they win. But it is on the line. Broncos playing for nothing but pride.
And I would say not only pride, but also just potential opportunities in the future, right? And we'll get into that with Drew Lock, but I think if Drew Lock has a subpar outing, this could be his last ever start in the NFL.
Yeah, Drew Lock, I mean, you watch him much more closely than I do because you're a Broncos fan, of course. But he hasn't impressed, I don't think, anybody with his performance in his career thus far. So this is a really pivotal game for him.
Yeah, I will say, though, the last 2 games, and he started in both those, he has shown some good stuff. He's looked better. Having said that, he doesn't resemble a franchise quarterback, but he's making progress. But is that enough to cover this line? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And I think in order to cover this 11, the Broncos are going to need to put up some points. In their last 3 games, this is the 2 games that Locke has started, and I believe the one that he came in as a replacement for Teddy Bridgewater. They have scored 10, 13, and 13 points in their last 3 games. That's not going to cut it against really any team in the NFL, but especially not against the Kansas City Chiefs, and especially not with the Broncos missing a pair of starting cornerbacks in Patrick Surtain and Ronald Darby.
Mm-hmm. Which is one of the reasons why I think that the spread is over 10, I would say. I think what the market is looking at, not only the must win, or I shouldn't call it a must win, but like a significant win so they can get a number 1 seed, because if we remember, the number 2 seed doesn't get a bye, just that number 1 seed, but having cluster injuries at the cornerback position against a team like the Chiefs, who rely heavily on their pass offense, I think that's why we're seeing the line where it's at.
Yeah, I completely agree. So the model, which of course, again, for anybody who doesn't know, the model can account for players being in and out on offense, any offensive skill position players. The model can correctly account for that. But defensive injuries, the model cannot account for. Model has Kansas City winning this game 26.6 to 22.5. So it's about a 4-point win and a total of about 49. I would expect for Kansas City to win by more than the model thinks, just because of those injuries that Denver has on defense. At the same time, though, I kind of like the Broncos to cover here.
Mm-hmm. I do too, and I think this is a really good talking point because the model, right? First, we already mentioned the point, Nick, that the model doesn't take into consideration defensive injuries. So let's say that it does. Maybe we bump that up to, I don't know, 28, 29. 29, 22. I'm just being hypothetical here. I think the rest of this is the market thinking that the Chiefs are in a position where they have something to play for and the Broncos have nothing. And with it being at home in Denver, I'm inclined to think otherwise because, again, Drew Lock, he has to show out. Like this is the biggest game of his career. I know that sounds crazy, but it is. And Fangio, I think there's a 70% chance he isn't the head coach here next year, but I'm hearing reports that he might come back, which I would hate. And if we saw last game, they actually went for it on 4th down in times where in the past they haven't. So he's playing a little more desperate, which I'm okay with. And then on top of that, this is a Chiefs team who has dominated the Broncos in the last few years, but minus 11. That's a lot of points, guys.
Yeah, 11 does feel like too many points. So the last time these two teams played, it was in Kansas City. And Kansas City was a 9.5-point favorite in that game. They ended up covering, but they probably, based on the way the game played out, should not have covered. A couple just small things down the stretch that happened in that game that took it to a Kansas City cover as opposed to a Broncos cover. Kansas City ended up winning that game by 13.
Mm-hmm.
But now getting the Broncos at home and having the spread go up, it does feel a little wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nick,
yeah.
real quick, if the Titans win tomorrow, they're the number 1 seed, right?
Yes, the Titans beat the Chiefs earlier this year, so they hold the head-to-head tiebreaker, and they're the only 2 teams currently sitting at 11 wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of speculation here. I just want to bring up this point. If the Chiefs are up, let's say like 7, 10, even 14, right? Let's say they're covering. Why do they put themselves in a position in that second half to potentially injure Mahomes, right?
Yeah, I haven't read any reports about the Chiefs potentially sitting players.
Oh, no. Whoa. Not sitting, but just...
Well, I mean, even like halfway through the game.
Yeah, just handing... I'm just talking about handing the ball off. I'm not saying that they're going to sit Mahomes, but just very conservative, right?
Yeah.
Like, the last thing they want is for Mahomes to take a big hit on a 7-step drop and get blindsided by Bradley Chubb, which it's unlikely, but if you put yourself in that position, it could happen. And what would the storyline be? The Chiefs are idiots. They got Mahomes hurt. And something to consider. I can't convince you that that may happen, but I definitely don't think that he's going to get taken out if they're in that position, but it is something to think about.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that I don't think they'll go as far as sitting players halfway through the game. But I do think that they will play a little bit conservative and try and keep people healthy.
Yeah, it does sound good for the under. It does.
Model actually likes the over here. Quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put the under down as a lean. I don't want to pick against the model. But I think that we have consensus between the two of us that the Denver Broncos to cover this 11-point spread is a nice lean in this game.
And Nick, I'm going to go as far to say this is probably my 5th most confident pick of the year. And my other 4, they all hit.
Do you have all of your picks graded by confidence?
Yeah. Well, I made them known. It was the Broncos against the Lions when I said I would eat cow testicles.
Yeah.
We had Cowboys at the beginning of the season, if you remember how confident I was there. Then we had the Panthers money line. If you remember that one.
Against New Orleans?
It was more Panthers spread, but I was that confident. And then Cardinals too. So I'm putting that in that ballpark. I know it's, Ben's a Broncos fan, but I think Drew Lock surprises a few people. And we haven't even talked about the Chiefs defense giving up 450 yards to Burrow last week.
I mean, Joe Burrow's putting up 450 yards on everyone.
Well, 450 yards. We get half of that out of Lock.
Against the Ravens the week before.
Yeah.
Let's
the Ravens have a
Ravens
we'll
don't have any
that more.
defense. So let's go ahead and hop into the player prop market for this game. And we'll start out by talking, as always, about the quarterbacks. Drew Lock's number on DraftKings is currently sitting at over under 217.5. Patrick Mahomes sitting at over under 269.5 passing yards. So the model has a very, very slight over lean on Drew Lock. It has him about 223, and a very slight underlean. Well, actually, not a slight underlean, a fairly sizable underlean on Patrick Mahomes at 246. And I think that actually might play into what you were alluding to earlier. It's not really something that the model can take into account directly, but a potential more conservative play calling, at least as far as keeping Mahomes out of danger down the stretch. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on either of these passing yard numbers?
Well, my first thought is FanDuel has 209.5 for Drew Lock.
Okay, let me go pull
and
that real quick.
That's current. So I even like the over 217.5 for Lock, but I definitely like the over 209.5.
At FanDuel, it feels like their player props are always off,
especially
to
late.
Other books.
Yeah, because everywhere else is around 215, 216. I even see a 218 at BetMGM. I mean, you could even get crazy. 218, try to middle it with 209. That's 10 yards.
That's a little crazy. I think at minus 110, that's a bad middle.
Yeah. 10 yards, though. I mean, it's getting... Yeah, I wouldn't do it. Anyways.
Pick six. It's a mean. Everything is a mean.
Yeah. So, I like it. I think it's a game script type of play for Lock because if they're down, they're going to have to pass the ball. And I think if you look at the Chiefs' defense last week, they got scorched. I know it's Drew Lock, though, but let's just get half of the yards that Burrow had last week, right? That's all we need.
Yeah.
So.
So you like the over. What about Patrick Mahomes?
I'm gonna lean under, Nick.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on both of them. I'm gonna trust the model here. The model on player props has been really, really good the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on
Like
top of that,
every time we pick against it, we lose.
yeah, and on top of that, Chiefs are up, even 7. Like they don't want to put Mahomes in danger, so I'm subscribing to that narrative.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, watch him go for 350.
I mean, he could go for 350 in the first half.
Yeah,
Against the Broncos.
That's a scary thing.
Yeah. I think if the Broncos have some success driving the ball on offense and chewing up clock, then something like that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of correlated plays here.
Mm-hmm. So Nick, I have one more quarterback passing prop that I want to give out.
And what would that be?
Funny enough, it's at FanDuel too. That's the best line. I like the over 31.5 for Drew Lock's longest pass completion.
Oh, God.
And the reason why is, number one, the Chiefs gave up 4 of those last week. Granted, yes, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Jamar Chase is playing out of his mind. Jamar Chase had 3 himself, and then he also had a 30-yard catch that didn't surpass this number of 31.5, and then T. Higgins had another. We only need 1 out of Drew Lock. We just need 1 over 31.5, and I think with Judy and Noah Fant, I don't think Fant's going to be the guy, but I think the way he's been playing is going to open up the middle of the field a little bit more. And also Sutton, deep ball threat, Tim Patrick too as well. So I just like that with the game script that Drew Lock is going to take a few more shots. And if you compare his numbers to Teddy Bridgewater, he's taking deep shots down the field at a much higher rate than Teddy Bridgewater is. So yeah, Drew Lock over 31.5 longest completion. I like it a lot.
Interesting play.
Definitely.
I hate these. I can't lie.
Yeah. No, it's fine. If it was against a better defense, I would not even look at this, but I think the Chiefs showed some things last week. 450 yards is absolutely atrocious. Like that's insane. So,
yeah.
We just need 1, Nick. Just need 1.
Just need 1. All right.
And I like that more than the over 209.5, by the way. So
okay, so
make that clear.
Yeah, so against the Chiefs, quarterbacks we've gone under 209 on the season. Ben Roethlisberger and Mason Rudolph combined for 194 in Week 16. Jordan Love had 190 in Week 9.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Heineke had 182 in Week 6, and that's it. The last time these teams played, even though the Broncos only scored 9 points, Teddy Bridgewater did have 257 passing yards. So I think the over 209 is a pretty solid play.
I like them both. I'm betting them both.
All right.
I diversified a little bit, and I put half a unit on each, by the way.
Sounds good. So let's move on to rushing props. On the side of the Chiefs, we have Darrell Williams over under 58.5. Derek Gore 24.5. On the Broncos side, no Melvin Gordon numbers. He's not out, is he?
I don't believe so. I think he's playing. My knowledge.
At least DraftKings doesn't have a number for Melvin Gordon. But they have Javonte Williams at over under 55.5. Anything here that you like?
I lean Javonte Williams over, but it's a tough one because will the Broncos go into this game and try to say, hey, let's do what's been working well and run the ball more? Or do they look at, hey, maybe we can take advantage of the Chiefs' secondary, or maybe it's a little bit of both, but also Javonte Williams could get to like 40, 45, and then it's the fourth quarter and Broncos are down 7 or 10. And then what, right? So I'm going to stay away from this one. I don't like that number. And I think the market, Nick, has finally caught up to Javonte Williams because we've talked a lot about him, and we were looking at 40s, 45s.
Yeah, I think all of the value's gone.
Yeah, I think the value's gone.
So
there's a question for you, Nick. You would answer that better than I would.
Thoughts on anytime touchdown score?
One before that.
Oh, I answered that one already.
Oh, sorry. Must have missed it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all means. I guess we could hypothetically do memes.
Oh, you did.
Props, but
I thought you said memes. I thought you were talking about something way different. Like we're a meme. I'm like,
yeah, that's why your face was like weird.
Yeah, I was like,
what I was saying.
Yeah,
no, I don't think the median isn't a well-defined thing in 2 dimensions. So if you have Chiefs score, Broncos score, like the median of that is not a well-defined thing.
And we could talk about touchdown props after we get through running backs and receiving props.
Yep.
Anything with the Chiefs, Nick?
No.
Derek Gore?
So what's interesting actually is that the model has basically a 50-50 split in the carries between these guys. Let me get rid of Denver on here for a second so you can see just the Chiefs guys. So it's got both of them at like 10, 11 carries, both of them at 42 yards. So Gore, a little bit more effective, say. Williams, a little bit more volume, at least from the model. I will say that forecasting running back carry distribution can be a little sketch from the model. Just a thing that happens. I definitely think that Williams is going to get more volume than Gore. But looking at them as a tandem, seeing about 85 yards on the ground, comparing that to the 2 rushing numbers that we have, 58.5 and 24.5, those add up to 83 yards. So if you have any reason to suspect that Williams is going to get 75-80% of the carries, then his over would be good. If you think it's going to be more like 50-50, maybe a Williams over or a Gore under would make sense. Or Williams under or a Gore over.
Yeah, Gore over.
Would make sense. But with this situation, and also potentially with them wanting to keep Darrell Williams healthy down the stretch, maybe. I don't really want to speculate on how the carry distribution is going to look. So I want to stay away from this.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I definitely lean over for Gore because of what I've been saying. But again, that's my biggest factor and reasoning. So for that, I don't think that's enough for me to play the over.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Do you see carries anywhere? I have a feeling they wouldn't put those up.
Yeah, I have a Darrell Williams rush attempts at 13.5. That's the only, at least on DraftKings, the only carry number that's up.
Yeah, I don't see it. Okay.
So I guess all of the backs are fades for us.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, on to the receiving prop market. Is there a team that you would like to start with?
The Broncos.
The Broncos. The Denver Broncos.
The Broncos.
Give me 1 second. So we've got Cortland Sutton over under 29.5. Javonte Williams over under 15.5. Jerry Jeudy over under 41.5. Noah Fant 38.5. Tim Patrick 32.5. And that is it for receiving yard numbers. Model has Jeudy at 38.2, so under by a couple yards on his 41.5. We have Fant at 37, so under by like a yard. Cortland Sutton, potentially interesting at 29.5. Model has him at 36. Tim Patrick, we have 31.5. Model has, or Vegas has 32.5. But Ben, I'm curious who you think might be the guy today for Denver.
A Ben special with the overs, Nick? No. No, I can't do it. So here's how I look at this, right? Sutton, Patrick, and Judy, all relatively low numbers, but it just makes it tough because Locke hasn't really shown he's favored one guy over the other compared to Bridgewater, but I have noticed that Noah Fant has been getting more looks. And sometimes targets versus looks can be tough to distinguish. And Nick, I don't even know if there's a source out there that is doing what I wish they did. And it's basically determining who the number one route was on a play. And it's really hard to do, right? Like,
Yeah, it sounds like a very inexact science.
Yeah, sometimes even when I'm watching a play, like I can't tell who the number one route is, but you have your pre-snap read and then you have your post-snap read. Someone could cook up like a formula and then compare it to targets. So what I'm getting at is I've noticed that Noah Fant is running deeper routes. Locke has been looking towards him. So if there's anyone on the Broncos that I'm playing an over on, it's going to be Noah Fant.
Yeah, so at 38.5, minus
Yep,
120.
38.5 would be my best receiving prop for the Broncos players.
So if I'm looking at one, I like Cortland Sutton. I'm going to shop around for a second to see if we can get a not minus 130, because like Pick 6 said, I mean, it's a tough take to take a minus 130 on
the Pick 6 made a really good point. Like, they could be looking off a play. Like, it's so hard to determine that sometimes, and even defensive-minded coaches, brilliant guys can't even determine that at times. So it's an inexact science, like Nick said.
Yeah, and even if you're like just looking at where the quarterback is looking, like what if there's two receivers,
right,
that are there, right?
And then even then, so that's one. And then you have one game. What is the defense doing something that is letting the guy get open more? So
well, but I mean, if you're just looking to make it a counting stat, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, but sometimes targets can just be because a player's getting, or a quarterback's getting tackled, right? And he needs to throw the ball away, so.
I suppose. So also you have Fant at 35.5 on FanDuel.
Oh. FanDuel's hooking it up. FanDuel thinks the Broncos are going to be flat.
Yeah. Here, this is fine. Cortland Sutton, 29.5 minus 115. So the two games that Drew Lock has started, of course, Jerry Jeudy was missing from the most recent one. But Sutton, 5 out of the 22 targets went his way against the Raiders. And then against the Chargers, 5 out of the 25 targets went Sutton's way. So it seems to be pretty consistent looks for Sutton. Model has him at 5.7 targets. I think even if he gets 5, I think 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. Fant did have a lot of looks last week. 6 catches on 7 targets for 92 yards. The week before, though, he only had 3 catches on 4 targets for 30 yards.
Yeah, and one of those for Fant was a 20-yard completion too. So.
Yeah, so I think Sutton's my guy here. So let's take a look at the Chiefs side of things. We've got Byron Pringle, 30.5. Darrell Williams, 22.5. Travis Kelce, 65.5. Tyreek Hill, 64.5. Only 4 guys with numbers on the Chiefs, which is a little strange. But Ben, anybody here that you are interested in?
These all scare me. And again, we're beating the dead horse here. Oh, is that a good pun here?
I mean, it depends on what you think of the Broncos.
Yeah. Well, they've been dead.
Yeah, they've been dead.
Yeah. I'm just worried that, like, for example, Travis Kelce, 64.5 or 65.5. That seems so low, but he's been a guy who seemed a little hobbled at times throughout the year, and a guy that you definitely don't want taking hits. So, another prime example, like, do they even look to get him the ball as much as usual? So,
30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sutton to have to hit. 30 yards feels like a pretty safe number for Sut
I have to stay away from all these, and I don't want to just all play unders there and then get burnt. So that's my 2 cents on these numbers, Nick. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. So model has just very slight underleans on Kelsey and Hill to start. We have 63 for Kelsey versus the 65 that DraftKings has. We have 63 for Hill also, compared to the 64.5. And then a pretty steep drop off from there. I'm a little surprised we're not getting numbers for some of the second tier guys, like Hardman say. But that just is what it is. I would maybe have my top lean here be actually a Kelsey under, despite the fact that you said that this number does seem low. Broncos have been quite good against tight ends this year. They've only allowed Foster Moreau in week 16 and Darren Waller. No, not even Darren Waller. And Mark Andrews in week 4 are the only tight ends that have gone over this number against the Broncos this year.
That Darren Waller prop, Nick.
Yeah.
You know what, Nick? What? I think the Broncos did something defensively because they used to get burnt by tight ends quite a bit, and I think Simmons has been covering some of them a little more. Like they definitely did something because they used to get killed by Kelsey. So yeah, 65.5, low.
It is low, but I actually still lean under on it.
Yeah, I think it's a good play.
Anything else with the Chiefs? Or nah?
Nah. Well, Jackson Mahomes recorded TikTok.
Over under 0.5 TikToks recorded.
We need to do a over under 14.5 seconds.
That sounds like a good TikTok series to make, right?
Yeah.
Silly bets about the games.
Yep.
Like over under 0.5 benches that the away team brought.
Shout out Cowboys.
All right, so let's wrap up this game by taking a look at the touchdown market. So we have Tyreek Hill as the most likely guy to score a touchdown. We have him at 0.67 touchdowns. Vegas agrees. We have Travis Kelce as the second guy. Vegas has him down at third. Anybody interest you touchdown wise?
One guy is very interesting, and that's Judy. He hasn't scored a touchdown all season long, which is kind of mind-boggling in a way, but at the same time, he was out. I think he missed 3 or 4 games.
I mean, still.
With his ankle injury, but still, like, with his talent, to not have a touchdown is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Last game of the year, Nick. I mean, do they try to get him the rock in the end zone? I don't know. What's his number out again?
Plus 300.
Yeah.
It seems gross.
It does.
Especially with how often the Broncos have been scoring touchdowns.
It does, yeah.
AKA not very often.
Why? Okay. Let's talk about Sutton, Judy, Patrick.
Yeah.
Why is Judy at 300 and then the other two are at 330?
Why not? What's weird about that, right? The receiving yards numbers are basically exactly the same.
Well, how many touchdowns have the 3 scored? Sutton's got to be at 3.
Sutton's at 2.
2, okay.
In like twice as many games. And Patrick is at 5.
He's at 5.
Although I don't know, like, did those come in a game where like other guys were out or?
Yeah, I know.
Or what? Also, like, how predictive is, if we're dealing with numbers like 0 and 2, how predictive is that of future touchdowns? Like, does that actually make a difference, or is that just noise?
Yeah, but do you get my point though?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, plus 300. That's interesting.
I mean, I'll tell you this much: I wouldn't even bet like all 3 of them turned it into like a pseudo plus 100 bet, like a third of a unit on each one.
You said you would or wouldn't.
I would not.
Yeah,
I think that's a bad
I
value,
wouldn't
right?
either.
I mean, that's like betting at plus 100 that any of them score with a little extra upside. But I wouldn't think that's a good bet.
At plus 100, though. That tickles my fancy a little bit.
Do you think it's 50-50 that one of these three guys scores a touchdown?
Yes, I do, actually. Well, let me think about this. Put me on the spot. Yeah, you know what? I say yes. Based on this matchup, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, who knows?
That'd be a fun one to watch for. What do you guys think?
I mean,
50?
I don't like touchdown props. Yeah, pick six says Patrick had a multi-TD game when guys were out.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, well, actually,
One-
yeah, he had one against the Giants in week 1, one against the Jaguars in week 2, Raiders in week 6, Dallas in week 9, and one against Cincinnati in week 15. But yeah, for me, touchdown props, fade spot. So Ben, what is your favorite bet of this Chiefs and Broncos game going to be?
I am going to go with Drew Lock, longest completion over 31.5 yards.
All right. Let me go find that on DraftKings real quick.
FanDuel might have the better number too.
Oh, I'm showing 35. I'm showing 35.5 now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was FanDuel that has
Yeah. I'm telling you, man.
31.5.
FanDuel, some interesting numbers on all these Broncos players today.
Yeah. And for me, I'm going to make my favorite bet in this Broncos-Chiefs game also going to be a Drew Lock bet. But I'm going to go a little bit more conventional. I'm going to take the passing yards over 209.5. So that wraps up game number 1. And now it is time to move on to the second game of today's multi-game NFL Saturday slate. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. So like the Chiefs and Broncos game, there is a little bit on the line as far as seeding order is concerned. But beyond that, both of these teams are not really playing for all that much. Dallas has secured the division. They need a win and some help from Tampa and LA and Arizona to secure the number 2 seed in the NFC. And what that does is that gets them home field advantage for their first 2 playoff games, guaranteed. Which is not a bye, but that is the second best thing you can wish for. Home field advantage in your first 2 games. Philadelphia, I believe, is actually playing for absolutely nothing. I think that they have their wild card locked up, their seed. I guess it's not entirely locked up. They have the same record as San Francisco. So again, they're playing for some seeding, but they're not going to get a home game. They're going to be one of the 3 wild cards, either the number 1 or the number 2 wild card in the NFC. So I wouldn't. It's not like a big motivating factor, say, for the Eagles, seeding wise. Of course, though, it is a big rivalry game. These teams do not like each other. So I would expect them to be playing hard. There's a couple of key players out for Dallas in this game. Micah Parsons is out. He is on the COVID list. Tony Pollard is out. He has a foot injury. Left tackle Tyron Smith for the Cowboys is out. He is also on the COVID list. Trayvon Diggs, NFL interceptions leader, Also, NFL leader in receiving yards allowed in coverage is out. So a lot of people missing for Dallas, a lot of key players. On Philly's side, I think it's really just the halfbacks, or Miles Sanders, really, that's out. I think actually Dallas Goedert may also be out. We'll see. We'll see a report on that later on, I think. Yeah. I don't. He tested he went on COVID IR earlier this week. I don't know if he's cleared the protocol, but we'll see. Lines in this game: Philadelphia 4-point underdogs at home. Over under is the exact same number as the one that we're seeing in the Broncos and Chiefs game, which is 44.5. And actually, now I'm showing, at least on DraftKings, that this spread has moved to 3.5. I'm going to go shop around a little bit, see what the consensus number is at. But Ben, what are your thoughts on this game?
Man, I do not have a lot of thoughts on this one. I think that this is a tough spot for me, just trying to break this one down. My lean, though, Nick, I think, is going to be with the home team, the Eagles, at plus 3.5, and then the under. So going with the model on this one, but not a lot of confidence for me.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. So the model has Dallas taking this game by about 2.5 points, and it has the total sitting right at like 44. So a very slight lean on Philly covering, and a very slight lean on the under. I'm with Ben. I think I lean the Eagles here. I think it's kind of a prove-it spot for them, even if they don't really have all that much to actually be playing for. I think everyone's kind of penciled them in as an automatic out in the first round of the playoffs, kind of regardless of who they play. And I think that they'd like to show up and make a little bit of a statement before the playoffs start, gain a little bit of respect. So I'm going to lean with the Eagles here as well. I think that there is also a little bit more of a risk in this game than there is in the last game of the Cowboys eventually resting some starters. So I think if this turns into a multi-score game in either direction, either if the Cowboys are up or if the Cowboys are down, I would not be surprised to see Dak come out of the game, to see Zeke come out of the game, to see some, like a Zach Martin, say, come out of the game. And I think that could also be a difference maker down the stretch.
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about, is I don't want to be on the wrong end of that.
No, me neither. So, player prop market. As always, going to start with... Oh, there's like no props on DraftKings for this game. That's lame. No passing props on PointsBet.
Well, I saw a number for Elliott. That was rushing yards, but that was on FanDuel.
Yes, Superbook only has touchdown props. And FanDuel, PointsBet at least has receiving props that we can talk about. I'm actually not surprised that we're not seeing a lot of props right now, just because of the risk of players being benched.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hard to set numbers for those games.
Yeah, Nick, I was talking to, I won't say his name, but it's a guy I respect, and he's pretty sharp, and he was basically saying that like it used to be week 17, now week 18. The books are really cautious because sometimes they can lay some pretty bad lines. Just like if there's some information and people start getting on it. But usually the books are on top of that, but
yeah,
it just puts them more at risk than if you were to talk about like a week 14, right?
Oh, so Peyton's saying the Cowboys are resting half the defense. I was reading earlier that they were like really playing to win. I mean, that was, I think, a direct quote from Mike McCarthy. But I guess maybe they are resting a lot of players on defense.
Is that coach talk though? You know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going out there to win. We play to win the game.
Yeah, we play to lose the game.
Nick, what they're really saying is the game is the bigger picture, the Super Bowl. So whatever we have to do to win that game, that's what he's really trying to get across.
Yeah. We play to win the game. What is the game?
What is the game?
The game. It's like you lost the game.
Yeah.
No, yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Me?
Yeah. The game.
Play to win the game?
I hadn't thought about that since like high school. It's like if you think about the game, you lose the game.
What is that?
That's the rules of the game.
Oh, is that like a thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not really a thing anymore, but it was a thing for a little while.
You East Coasters.
Yeah, I don't think it was an East Coast thing. I think you're a little bit too old, Ben.
Okay. Only a few years older than you.
Yeah. 4 years it makes a big difference.
I'll just ask my sister.
Uh-huh. So I am showing a Dak Prescott number on FanDuel. 199.5. And this really feels like if he plays the whole game, it goes over, and if he gets benched, it goes under. That's where this line is set.
That's funny. I know that's such a like I bet their FanDuel was like, you know what? We'll put up a number.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and you're 100% correct. Like that's all it is.
Yeah, so I think the player prop portion of this Eagles Cowboys game is going to be quite underwhelming. Just because of the complete lack of props to even bet on. and yeah, Peyton. So Parsons, I think those guys aren't resting. I think they're just out. So I think Diggs has an illness. Parsons is on the COVID list. I don't know about Anthony Brown. I know Tyron Smith is on the COVID IR. Tony Pollard is out, but he has a foot injury. Those guys are on offense, not defense, but still. So I don't know that they're being rested so much as they just have guys who are actually need to be out. Kinty in the chat, Pick 6 says tease under 51.5 and Eagles plus 10.5. That actually feels kind of nice. I usually hate teasers, but I think that actually makes a lot of sense.
I'm just thinking about it. I mean, it seems good.
Yeah, it does feel good.
Do you think a lot of people are teasing the Chiefs, Nick?
I would guess that the Chiefs are the most popular teaser leg of the day.
Yeah. 11.5 down to
11 down to 4 or 5, depending on if you're
how does this lose?
Yeah, I mean, that's how you know a pick can't lose, right? Is if you ask the question, how does it lose? It makes it a guarantee. It's like the laws of physics, the nature of the universe.
Yep.
Yeah, and Larry, you're completely right. They always feel good. That's why they're teasers. Because they're teasing you into taking them. It's Kinty says Cowboys Eagles over. I really don't want to touch the total in this game.
Yeah.
It feels very coin flippy, very also dependent on how long starters actually play. And what's up, Rico? Glad to see you here for the second stream of the day. So on the receiving side of things, wow, we have quite the selection here. We have Amari Cooper, 38.5, CeeDee Lamb, 45.5, and that's it. I haven't read any reports about the Eagles resting guys. Why are there no Eagles props? Although I guess maybe if the Cowboys rest defensive players, then that has an impact on Eagles props. But yeah, this is kind of lame. What good content this is, right?
Let's talk about what the number should be now.
I mean, I can go through the model. So on the Eagles side, wow, we finally have Jalen Hurts as leading rusher for the Eagles. 63.65 yards. We got Zeke at 45.5. Your boy Kenneth Gainwell, I think you're starting, Ben. I think Sanders is out, Scott's out, Howard is out.
Wow. Gainwell season.
Gainwell season. How have you been thinking about Gainwell as the season's gone along? I know he's a guy that you were really high on at the start of the year. Are you kind of level with your evaluation of him? Has it gone up or has it gone down?
Well, it's kind of been level. It's weird because when he does play, he looks really good. So I guess Boston Scott kind of has proven himself, and he's been getting more touches. But I don't know. I don't know if they're using him as much as they should be, but I'm indifferent on him right now. He's just kind of, when he's in, and he probably will make some plays today.
Yeah, it's Gainwell season. So, yeah, I mean, I honestly think that this is kind of the right way to treat a rookie running back if you have other guys. I mean, I'll like kind of like what the Broncos are doing with Javonte Williams, but they have one other guy as opposed to three other guys. Right? You don't want to run him out there and put 250, 300 carries on their legs, especially for a guy like Javonte Williams in what is ultimately a meaningless season right now for the Broncos, playoff implication wise.
For sure.
You wanna keep him fresh. I think that's kind of why Derrick Henry's been so good for so long, and up until this year had been healthy. Right? Is his first 2-3 years he split carries with DeMarco Murray in Tennessee.
Yeah.
You keep tread off the tires until they're like really ready. But yeah, that is literally it for the prop market in this game. We have touchdown props we can take a look at. That's like the only thing we have, Ben.
You know we have to. Kenneth Gainwell, plus 125. You gotta love it.
Yeah. So let's see what the model says. Model has Devontae Smith as the number one touchdown guy at 0.56 touchdowns. Again, this is not 56% chance of having a touchdown. This is 0.56 touchdowns. He's all the way down at plus 200. So it's actually kind of interesting. So, Trayvon Diggs is out. And I actually think that Trayvon Diggs, having played in this game, might have been good for a Devontae Smith touchdown prop. I would assume that Diggs would have been in coverage on Smith. And for all of the interceptions that Diggs has, he is leading the league in receiving yards allowed in coverage. Like, he's allowed the most receiving yards of any corner in the entire NFL. Just because he gambles so often to try and get picks. And I think that him playing might have actually allowed Devontae Smith for an opportunity to have a deep shot touchdown. But without that, maybe not so much.
That's a good point.
Model has CD Lamb as the number 2 guy. Don't know how much Lamb is going to play. Kenneth Gainwell as the number 3 guy. So, Ben, you could go all in on Gainwell today. You can cash out all of your Gainwell stocks.
Yeah. Let's go crazy on it.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to see if one of the Eagles players had an incentive on the line. I feel like someone mentioned something about that.
Yeah, you're the incentive guy.
Yeah. So someone was commenting on another post talking about incentives, and they literally said, "I only bet player props in the last week of the season because of that."
Isn't that like a kind of square thing to do? Right? Because the books know that these guys have incentives.
I would say that if you're blindly doing it, it's pretty square, but especially this year, they're starting to really inflate those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Cooper Kupp Right? I mean, his number is
It's
insane.
Yeah. The revenge narrative. Yeah, there you go.
The revenge against what?
Against him not starting, maybe? I don't Gainwell. People got really mad, Nick, because I didn't mention TJ Watt in my video. Everyone's like, how are you going to forget about TJ Watt? But I know a lot of people don't have access to sacks.
Yeah, like defensive player statistic props.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, those are kind of hard to come by.
It's like, you Steeler fans need to chill out. They were very upset. But for them, that's kind of all they got going for them right now, right?
Yeah. They get to finally get rid of Big Ben. That's exciting.
Yeah. Last game.
Yep. All right, so yeah, we don't we don't have real player props to look at. Oh, maybe we can do. Oh no, there's not even anything good there. They have these little combo props.
Oh, there could be a few up.
Jalen Hurts, 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns for plus 1,500. Yeah, no, these are stupid.
Oh, I think if you try to unfollow, refollow, the system knows.
Yeah, because you
'Cause
could
then
you
it
could
could
use it
just
to like spam
Yeah, it could get real crazy.
the notification, the
But
alert.
you could subscribe, and I think something would happen.
Yeah,
I mean, if
maybe
you really
I can,
want.
I could go maybe find your follow and replay the notification. No, I don't think I can. So Ben, not really anything to talk about for this game. But do you have a favorite bet out of the 2 available bets?
No, I don't. I just don't want to force anything just
Yeah.
for the sake of it.
Me either. I think by default, Eagles plus 3.5 is going to be my favorite bet. I actually do like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, player prop wise, there's no market. There's nothing to bet on.
I feel like we're back in the 2015s.
The 2015s, that decade.
You know what's so crazy? I was talking to, well, I think you were with me. Maybe you weren't in that conversation, but we were just talking about player props and like Super Bowl props and all that. And just 6 years ago now, actually 7, when the Broncos played in the Super Bowl against the Panthers, that was like one of the first years where you could bet on player props in the Super Bowl, which is so. Oh, sorry, it was the Seahawks Broncos. So 2012. And I think we just take that stuff for granted now, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's wild to me.
No, I mean the sports betting industry has come a long way, and now we get like on some books live player props. How crazy is that? In less than a decade, going from literally not being able to bet on player props to having somewhat sharp lines on live player props.
Yeah, and then Super Bowl, you have like, I mean, Superbook. I'm gonna have to ask them like how many they'll have.
It's like hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. No, I don't want to say it's 500. It's a little high.
I think
but
it
they
was
have
in the 300 last year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Should we do a stream and we go through everyone?
Yeah, I mean, like for the Super Bowl last year, we did our prop picking contest. We could make it like 100 different things that people have to pick.
Yeah. I think people would get tired. Larry
Yeah,
would
I
get
don't think
the
anybody
50.
would want to actually do that.
Larry'd be like, oh god, 50 more.
Yeah, no, Larry would need to go to PT after filling out the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll definitely do something like that again this year for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
really enjoyed the Super Bowl stream that we did last year. I wonder if we'll be able to get Trent on again.
Yeah, he'll probably come on.
Yeah.
Oh man,
he's blown up since then.
yeah. We were day ones with him.
Mm-hmm. We could maybe get Jordan again. That was fun.
That was fun. Should we recap just the best bet for the Broncos game since it's coming up here in about 20 minutes?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And
oh my gosh, Nick, the Broncos are wearing all blues.
What does that mean?
That means they're going to cover.
They're going to cover. All right. Is that is that the trend, right? When the Broncos are 3-1 against the spread since 1846 when they wear all blues.
I honestly think that
the last game of the season at home against a playoff team.
I think someone told me that the Broncos, when wearing all blues, are 7-3 the last 10 games.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's straight up.
It's a guarantee now, right? They can't. It's impossible. It's against the law for them to lose. And yeah, Zach, it's going well. There's no prop market for the Eagles-Cowboys game because of the fact that there's a lot of questions about how long starters are actually going to play. Yeah, Drew Lock, Horsecock. So speaking of Drew Lock, Horsecock, baby, that sounds like a band name, right? Like a really shitty band.
Or like a metal band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So recapping the top bets for today, not really anything to speak of from the Cowboys-Eagles game, just because there's no market for the game. But with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos, Ben, your favorite bet is?
Yeah, it's Drew Lock over 31.5 for his longest pass completion.
And my favorite bet for the Chiefs-Broncos game is also a Drew Lock prop, and that was the over 209.5 passing yards. Both of those numbers available on FanDuel, or at least they were when we went through. Let's go double check, see what the numbers are at right now. So yeah, so Drew Lock passing yards still 209.5 on FanDuel, and longest pass is still 31.5. So I think we're probably gonna go ahead and wrap it up.
Yep.
Little disappointing that there's no market for the Cowboys-Eagles game. Should still be a fun game to watch though.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
we'll see.
Maybe not.
We'll see. I mean, we can always turn it off at halftime if it's terrible. So.
Mm-hmm. But we'll be back live tomorrow, Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, running through all 14 games taking place tomorrow. No prop market for those games, just game level discussion because there's way too many games to do prop markets for. But we hope to see you then.
Yep. Thanks for joining, guys. We will see you tomorrow.
Yep. Good luck with the bets, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
See ya.